Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Taylor Field, and I am here today to be talking about, that is right, Godzilla, the anime, part 3. This has been a long time coming. I totally forgot that this even came out. It's just, my mind blown. But, yeah, here we are, and I'm doing this for you, and you know what? Especially for Kirkland Patzer out there, the Geekverse podcast, all the Kirkland Patzers out there in the world. This cast is for you. And basically, I am doing this because it is in anticipation of Godzilla King of the Monsters dropping in theaters this week. It is going to be outstanding. Can't wait. Got my ticket. You can expect a review coming Friday night, early Saturday morning from me and Ruben Olsen, my Rudder Not Geeks Creed co-host and Gauntlet partner as well. So that'll be coming your way. Also, make sure you are checking out the Facebook page because we got a X-Men poll going on. So get over there, make your vote, and yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to think. There's probably something I should be shouting out, and I hear Travis's voice in my head, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it is. But they say that forgetfulness means intelligence, so I'm doing good. So that being said, let's dive into a non-spoiler, quick little debrief of Godzilla's Part 3 Netflix original anime series. Okay, so if you haven't seen Part 1, Part 2, I say you probably should go see them. It's like, you don't start off in a trilogy and watch the last part of the trilogy. You gotta watch, both the beginning and the middle to kind of figure out the end, just how it works. I know it's a hassle, but what are you gonna do? So go watch Part 1, then watch Part 2, and then watch Part 3. Or, you just want to listen to me talk, then just enjoy it. So, Godzilla, I really enjoyed, the first part. And even then, going to Part 2, I thought, okay, it's not as good as the first part, but it's still holding its own in many ways. And really enjoyed the story and the kind of, like, the direction it was going. But Part 3, it didn't really do it for me. It had a lot of things going on, like some of the character development was pretty good. Well, to a certain point in the story, it was pretty good, and it just kind of went down this path that I wasn't expecting and didn't really kind of like. I feel like it drifted really far away from what they were all about in the first part. But it had a lot of good action, a lot of great moments, and there wasn't a time when I actually picked up my phone and was like, oh, I'm going to go, browse Facebook. I was totally hooked into the story, which I'm really, really, really happy with. But that being said, I don't have much to say on non-spoilers. I mean, what can you say? At the end of the day, this is an anime, and I'm gonna put my shoes in the shoes of an anime person. And am I the most qualified person to review an anime? No, definitely not. Am I the most qualified person on the Geekverse to review an anime? No, definitely not. But I'm going to. So, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to say it because I'm by myself, but spoilers. So we're diving in now. I'm not a fan of King Ghidorah, how he looked in this. He was cool. Like I was half expecting, like, okay, so when is he going to like make the transition into his like his I'm gonna call it just his Toho form, from like the movie and stuff like that. Because I'm a fan of how he's got the wings, the 3 heads all in one. But this Ghidorah was, and maybe there's a lot more lore, and if there is, I apologize. I don't know a lot about the King Ghidorah kind of like backstory and history to him. But if there is a lot more, and this is one of his actual original forms of an interdimensional being who can't technically be, phased or attacked in this dimension, then tell me. Pop in the comments down below, write it up. I'll respond, because I'm very interested in this kind of stuff. I'd love to know what you think. But for me personally, it was not the Ghidorah I was expecting, and I didn't like how he just came in, and every bit of development we spent with these human characters on the ship up in orbit was just completely wiped out and didn't matter anymore. That was the end. And but that being said, the episode still had a lot of good to it, and I got a whole bunch of notes. I took notes, believe it or not. But basically right after the whole battle and the whole event that takes place at Mechagodzilla City in part 2, Godzilla basically goes into sleep mode after. Um, and I can't pronounce the alien names, but the the Ethis. But basically, they waited and let everyone else die for a specific moment. You know, they were planning something. Basically, I can't look at them as being bad guys because I'm not sure if they were bad guys. Because this is like Memphis and stuff like that, his kind of race. But I can't really imagine it. Were they bad or because at one point it sounded as if they know how their species or civilization ends. They've got super advanced technology, but they also know how to summon King Ghidorah basically to these planets that they kind of groom to feed to King Ghidorah's sustenance in a weird way. And I took that as, okay, now they're bad guys, but it kind of leads into a little bit more of a deeper understanding and kind of meaning of this film, what they were going for. I'm pretty sure in my other reviews, I remember, Memphis being like a cool guy. I used to shout for him, but this completely turned me off because what did I write here? Memphis, crazy alien, always pulling the strings. And then another thing that happens too, and I know this is going to be a very scattered, Taylor review, but it's just the way it goes. I gotta follow the notes. The notes, I wrote them in order as I'm watching the show. Like, okay, this. I apologize. Hora shuts down. The local chicks, the Mothra duo girls. One of them is trying to. She starts taking off her clothes and wants to sleep with him, and he shuts her down because she doesn't know how to take his suit off, and then she leaves, and then her sister shows up in between dream sequences, which is really like trying to figure out what's going on, but she shows up and then they sleep together. So I don't know. Just they're all sleeping together. So this is not one of my best reviews. Anyways, already said that. So yeah, we learned more that Memphis, with his father, I'm assuming it was his father character, basically is using the whole belief that formed in part 2. So in part 2, there was the nanites that started to progress, take over, and they could actually take over and merge into your body. And some of the characters are actually immune to these effects, like Hawa, and basically that effect resonated with the surviving humans on Earth as an act of divine intervention. They took it as an act of God, and so Memphis started to, use this belief for his benefit and the benefit of his people to summon King Ghidorah, basically allowing them to believe that this is God. This is you got to devote yourself, yada yada yada. And they end up performing an actual ritual that actually pulls King Ghidorah from another dimension into ours, and a lot of people die. The whole ship in orbit gets destroyed, and then a lot of the humans that were participating in the ritual down on the Earth get murdered as well. So that's very, very unfortunate. And meanwhile, throughout most of this time, Godzilla is still in his slumber mode. But it was just very odd because Ghidorah, when he comes through the actual dimension, the people on the bridge of the spaceship, they're like, the chick is talking and like, yeah, no, I'm detecting no life forms on the bridge. Are we already dead? Because it was just a total time warp. And I thought that was actually very cool, and that would be very intimidating. Like, just you're reading a scan and it's like, oh my god, like we're already dead, but we're still here. Like all these transmissions were all in mixed orders because it didn't make sense anymore because of the time warp, which was just nuts. But that was Memphis that summons him. Ghidorah fucks up the main ship. Time became all warped. So Portal was above them. they could technically detect their own deaths and no life form signals, but whole ship and everyone on it dies. This is when Godzilla actually woke up just in time for Ghidorah's arrival. So this is actually the score. It's fantastic. I love this. Godzilla's eye opens and he's like slow. It's a zoomed in shot and he's slowly turning his head. I was like, oh, the boy is coming out to play, motherfucker. So he's like looking around, looking at the portals and stuff, and like 3 giant orbs pop up in the sky. And sure enough, the one long snake Ghidorah head comes out with no body, and it's just a long, long snake. Comes down, and it's like floating there, and then Godzilla charges up his beam attack. He charges it up good, and he lets it rip, and my jaw dropped because it hit Ghidorah, but it totally deflected and went somewhere else. Like, it curved a deflection. And it was like, what is going on? This is nuts. And then sure enough, he did another charged up beam shot. Same thing, didn't work. It was like, what the fudge? So I was trying to understand, like, how is Godzilla gonna beat this thing, you know? But technically, he gets pinned down because the one Ghidorah head like comes in close, and Godzilla like tries smacking at it, doesn't do anything. And then Ghidorah like kind of flies around and bites down on Godzilla's shoulder and just starts totally messing with him. It's like draining his energy almost, and Godzilla like is trying to hit him, but it's not doing anything. It's just kind of passing through Ghidorah's body because he's an interdimensional being. So technically, you can see him in this universe or this dimension, but his physical form and where he's being controlled is coming from another dimension, another area, or another place that you have to attack that core place, and then it would basically relieve and destroy the current manifestation of this entity. And that is what Ghidorah was represented it as in this show. And I'm a little upset about that because I personally would have liked the actual fully manifested monster himself. You know, that would have been awesome. But basically, Memphis was controlling King Ghidorah. As I wrote, Memphis gone batshit crazy. So 2 more King Ghidorah snakes come out of the actual portals and just go to town on Godzilla, and they're all clamped on him. At this point, Godzilla is not doing good. Excuse me, yawn, talking lots. There's only like a few humans left, and they're watching with the Hota tribe or whatever, the last humans on the Earth. They're watching everything, trying to figure out what's going on. The scientist guy who works with Haruwa, eventually he clicks with it that, you know, King Ghidorah is being controlled by somewhere else, that he's not actually a real manifestation in this dimension, this universe. And for me, I was thinking, okay, does that mean that they have to actually find the real King Ghidorah on Earth and destroy him that way? Or what's the game plan here? But that wasn't the case. All this time, Haruwa knew he had to go basically deal with Memphis. And so when he went to deal with Memphis put him in like some trance state of mind and was trying to like break him. And one of the girls, the girl that slept with Haruwa, went and grabbed the scientist guy, and she had a plan. So basically they went and they summoned Mothra, and it wasn't an actual physical manifestation of Mothra, it was just a mental manifestation. He flew in, and Mothra saved the day, like was able to help Haruwa break free of this trance that Memphis put him into, and then, you know, Mothra was gone. It was that quick. So Mothra saved the day, and Haruwa, you know, manages to squeeze and smack or crush the eye that actually Memphis was using, because technically Memphis could see Godzilla, and that was how King Ghidorah was actually knowing Godzilla was there and was aware of his surroundings and was actually dealing this damage to the surroundings. All the while, as you know, how was squeezing the eye, and right before he smashes it, I loved it because they showed little snippets of Godzilla looking around, and he was trying to figure out what to do, how to deal with it. He was raising his body temperature to try and actually deal with the fact that he could maybe attempt a attack on King Ghidorah. And it might have worked, but then King Ghidorah started absorbing and taking away his temperature. Even though he was still outputting and raising in temperature, the temperature wasn't there, which was really like crazy to think of. But he was waving his tail around, looking around, but wasn't doing anything. And then sure enough, you know, he's levitating up in the air, and it's absolutely nuts. And it's literally Godzilla's life is being sucked out of him, just disappearing. So that's when the humans figure out they can hurt this King Ghidorah because it's attacking from another dimension. This whole fight scene shows how Godzilla is trying to work it out, and he starts floating. Okay, got that. And then, yeah, they learn that Memphis is controlling Ghidorah. So after Mothra helps, they basically... Hawa just takes out that eye, and then just that saves the day. The damage to the eye basically allowed the entity, which is King Ghidorah, to be damaged in this actual physical state of dimension. I was trying to think about how this is actually working and puzzling it out. But yeah, that's how it happened. So Godzilla immediately just went to fucking town, went fuck nuggets on this fucking King Ghidorah. So he like destroys one instantly, then it goes back and he's like breaking the jaw of another one, which is like classic, Godzilla is and then the third one is like total full retreat, going back into his portal, and Godzilla's not having it. He shoots his charge beam, blows them out to lunch, and then he just pops each of the 3 portals in the sky with his charge beam, and then he just goes back to his sleep and saves the day. That's how Godzilla rolls, he's just saving the day. But I wasn't sure if that was actually Ghidorah's actual death. It didn't feel like it. I mean, in a way it did, but at the same time it didn't act like 100% feel like it. But yeah, so then Hawa manages to completely kick the crap out of Memphis. But yeah, the interdimensional portals above him get destroyed. And it was literally right after that destruction, we get a time jump. And from what I was reading, it looked to be about like half a year. It slowly shows the humans that are abandoning their spacesuits, their weapons and stuff, and they're actually wearing, the native humans like tribal garbs and stuff like that, and just kind of fitting in and blending in with their society and really enjoying it too, which I thought was actually a very cool combination. And yeah, they just started to grow and expand, and Hawa ended up I'm pretty sure had a child with one of the lady that he slept with. And after that, the scientist actually, they managed to find one of the nanosuits, flight suits, vulture suits or whatever, from part 2. And the scientist guy was actually working on rebuilding it and making sure, that maybe they can use it again. And all the while, as he was doing so, he manages to actually reactivate it. And he learns that one of the body, I can't remember her name, that she was from part 2, and she got seriously infected with the nanite stuff. And she was still alive, but brain dead. So the scientist was studying on her this whole time, took some of the nanites out of her and applied it into the suit, and made it work. So he even said that, the nanites remember everything that they build, so we could technically start rebuilding civilizations even greater and bigger than what they used to be. And this is something that Memphis warned Hawa about, that, civilizations reach their peak and they end up creating these monsters, and, they are the cause of their own destruction because of that reach and point in technology that they achieve. And so Hawa, he didn't trust that, he didn't like it, and he took the girl with the nanites in her body, got into the flight suit, flew directly at Godzilla, and whatever attempt he was trying to do, and Godzilla woke up, blasted him out of the sky, and he crashed into Godzilla. But that was his attempt to basically change the course of history, because it's just, life is just meant to just start again, and it's just human nature even too, to just grow and progress. And you could even overhear the other people saying, oh, I can't wait to have technology back, it's going to be so great. But they were living, in peace with Godzilla at this point, just living a basic, nice, simple life. And that was all they really needed too, because Godzilla only retaliated and attacked when they were being so aggressive and, evil and brutal and all that stuff. But again, it goes to show too how all these civilizations reached a certain point technologically, and then they created their own monsters. And that's what Memphis kind of preaches and explains too in the show, that humanity reached a point of their technology that they ended up creating Godzilla. And what are those other aliens called? The Billa Saludos. They got to a certain point, with Mechagodzilla City, that was the monster. The Mechagodzilla, that was the monster. The nanites and stuff, and that would have just totally ruined them and all life. So that was their monster they created when they reached a certain technological standpoint. And then, sure enough, for Memphis, it was King Ghidorah. They reached a technological standpoint, and King Ghidorah popped out. And yeah, that's just the excess. That's just that's how they kind of preached it. So yeah, the human created Godzilla with years of radiation mutation, and then Mothra in this movie is another variation of disaster waiting to happen should the tribe of the Huta actually advance into a high-tech civilization. I forgot about that. So yes, I feel like they took a different take because a lot of these creatures are considered Earth defenders. This Godzilla in this anime is obviously so different from the Godzilla in the modern movie, I would say. The modern, current Americanized... Oh, mic drop. The current Americanized Godzilla film is from 2015, I believe. 2015, so... that one is definitely a take on, Godzilla being a much more gentler kind of creature who's not, he might step on the odd human, but he's not doing it intentionally. He's just, the top of his food chain. But yeah, I don't know if I have much else to add, just that it wasn't super great of a conclusion in my opinion. It was very epic, had lots of good score, lots of good action scenes, but for me, it just didn't do the trick. I was definitely hoping for something more along the lines of Part 1's kind of style. I loved when they returned to Earth and that. I loved how it felt so kind of like mysterious and exploring, just how claustrophobic at the same time as well. They were coming back to a planet that used to be theirs after thousands of years, and just they're fighting one Godzilla, and then they kill it, but it's not the actual same Godzilla. It's a completely different one that's smaller and minuscule to the real one that they almost kill in Part 2, but how chooses not to become a monster in order to do it, not to sacrifice his humanity, which I love that story. This story incorporated so much talk about God and devoting and all of this stuff, and how Memphis talks about how humans have the ability of free will, which is incredibly rare. And in this case, people may not believe or see in God, but they look for that in the words of other people and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of very intense religious kind of talks and stuff like that was actually very interesting and really really cool. But a lot of it, I feel like it wasn't necessarily really needed, but it worked in Memphis' case because of what he was striving to achieve. But yeah, all in all, the definitely watch it. It's definitely not something you need to just drop your socks and your rocks and just go for it right now. You can definitely take your time, but it's definitely something that I recommend. If you've watched Part 1, Part 2, you got to watch Part 3. You just have to. And it's a great way, just if you're looking for something to watch right now, it'll just set you up in time for the Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I am just super excited for, and I cannot wait. I've been so stoked at this universe that they're slowly progressing towards, and I cannot wait to see all the monsters that are actually in this, aside from King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. It's just going to be unbelievable. So just unfathomably awesome. But yes, so I would give this last episode, I can't remember what my ratings were for the other ones, but personally, I'm going to probably give it maybe a 6.3 out of 10, Maybe I'd even feel like it's a little too generous, and I'd go as low as a 6 out of 10, but I don't know. I'll give it the 0.1 for the score, 0.1 for the action, and 0.1 for the ending. There is a post-credit scene, should you actually make it that far, and it's very cool because it shows how his wife, who's much, much older, and basically shows the children, the next generation, basically honoring how by taking their fears, saying out loud what they are, and then putting these totems or whatever, these little things into the fire, so their fears are basically burning up and going away so that, they're safe, because the Hauta tribe believed that, living is winning and dying is losing. But Hawa eventually discovered and believed that, you need to actually die in order to win, because he knew what was with him was so much fear and anger for Godzilla that if that always resonated with him, which it would have, it would have just led to more people dying, and it would have led to more chaos. Then the cycle would have continued. But it ended with him because he decided to kill himself, and it led to a better, brighter world. And yeah, so I'll give it the point one for that as well, because I think there was very good storytelling in the way it wrapped up and concluded. And I had so much anticipation just for King Ghidorah, but a little bit of a letdown because of the way the fight went and stuff like that. The other fights were just so much more well done in the other parts, and yeah. So, until then, next time you see me, it'll be on the official Godzilla King of the Monsters review with Ruben Olsen, which is going to be a dandy, good old merry of a time. So, until then, make sure you check us out in the search bar with your internet connection on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, Geekverse Podcast, everywhere you go, YouTube, on iTunes, we're looking for 200 comments, I think is what Travis said. You know what? Just go onto iTunes and comment, review, like, share, all that stuff. You know what? We all about the subscribes. We want the subs, because if you're sub to us, that means we can give you all of our content. And that's what it means, so much to us. We want to give you all of our content so that you can enjoy everything with us, That's what we want to do. So until next time, we'll see you in the search bar. Have an awesome day.